Hello everybody. So let's carry on. We're almost finished. I'm going to go in with a slightly lighter colour now. Last week we used the tougher paint. So I'm just going to add a little bit more detail using this lovely little pigment that I mixed up, which is, I think it's a limestone. I'm just going to add some detail to some of these little leaves, these little ivy leaves, but just the odd few where the light hits just the odd few leaves where I can see, and it also hits these little branches that we drew last week. The problem with this paint is that sometimes you can't see the colour until it's dried, so you just look like you've drawn a watermark, and then when it's dried you can see where you've put it, so you just have to go back in and correct it if it needs it, because sometimes it can dry as a big splodge. We just want to add some of these little wispy branches. And just some little accents just where I can see some branches crossing up here. There's not an awful lot of really light points right up here, just a couple of little bits, so we'll just add just to bring some depth in there. So really at this stage of the painting, it's all about adding the final little bits of light and shade to the areas where you want it most. There's a lot of branches here. It's a complete wiggle of branches all intercrossing. And then what I can do is just go back and define them with a little bit of dark shading once I've put where I want them to be. There's so many branches here on this picture you can barely even see the ivy beneath it in this area. But you can really see this branch here has got a lot of light just in places. I'm just fixing its lightest points. And then underneath here I can see some light shining on these leaves just here, a bit more than they were before. This little bit here is really dark, so we're going to leave that. There's a couple of little points here I can see, and even some of these little ivy leaves just up here. Under there is just a mass of branches. So let's just add some more in. And it kind of goes down in a little funny little layers where the light hits. There's not much light hitting the branches right up here. They're all relatively dark. Just maybe a few, so I might go back in with a tougher paint and just lighten up some of these up here. But I'm also going to go back in with a wet brush and just blend all this together and then darken some of the areas where I want more of the shading to be more pronounced. I'm really trying to give some shape now to this ivy. Where it falls. Above the darkest points. As I say, you won't see all of this, unfortunately, until a lot of the ivy dries, until a lot of the paint dries. And then you can see exactly where all the white bits are, and go back in and touch up with any dark bits. And medium light bits. There's also, just noticed there's a couple of branches just here. Just sticking out there. There's also a few more branches coming off this one, which we'll add in as well shortly. There's a little tip there. Let's going to dry a little bit lighter, but that's okay. Just going to go back in with our tougher paint. Just add a few more little layers of medium depth again. Especially across this really dark bit, because I can see in the picture that there is some ivy that's crossing over. Right, now let that dry. I'm just using the really dark colour again. Where I want some of these bigger branches, I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow. And some of them will continue off. And just tidy them up a little bit. Here we go. Let's just tidied off some of these. Just adding a little bit of shadow. To where I want this branch. I think that branch is actually okay. This one has a little bit of shadow just under there. And I think we're almost getting done. So we'll just do a little bit more to touch up next week. Just add the final touches, which is literally just playing really, just to smarten everything off. But I think we're almost done. We just need to add some bits at the bottom just to tidy all of this up together, and maybe just add a few little interesting things there. but the main focus is still on the chicken tree, and we'll just darken up some of these branches where we want them to stand out a little bit more next week. So take care, have a great week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.